All right, you guys, what's going on? Decided to go with that green screen because when you think about it, this comes down to green possibly extort money and scheming and a lot of different other things. And I really wanted to be really particular and careful how I present this. But at the same time, this is gonna be one of these videos, somebody gonna get mad. But at the same time, I'm just keeping it a buck. I can't worry about that. And I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I really don't give a damn who gets offended by this because it get to the point to where you have to have these kind of conversations. So we all know what's going on, in particularly with Big U. According to reports, he's been indicted on 48 different charges from possible being linked to homicide to, you know, um, a lot of different things, extorting people, harassment, bullying, racketeering, a lot of different things. Sex trafficking, aka pimping, because that's pretty much what it is. Basically, what they tried to do is they turned the word pimping into sex trafficking, make it seem like it was more, egregious and heinous. So that's pretty much what they did because the law, that's what they do. They like to retweet words and make it seem like it's just horrifying. But the funny thing is, they go after the so-called pimps, but they never go after the women that be on the street corner selling pussy. But nevertheless, it isn't about this. It isn't about that particular subject. What it's about is, you know, a community being torn, where you have basically the streets versus the law-abiding citizens. Now, I had a very interesting conversation, and I've been, just I'm not gonna say trolling, just peeping the scenery, just listening to various different videos about this Big U situation, and where you have some people saying free Big U, um, you know, he's a hood hero and all this kind of stuff, and you know, um, like I said, I'm really like torn about this, but I just got to keep it a buck because I came from that element and I understand the streets. I understand the no snitching policy. I understand all that kind of stuff. But then I've been on both sides where I was in the streets, but then, you know, at times I had to be a law abiding citizen when I was trying to be in the streets and trying to do the, legal thing at the same time. And it got to the point to where it was either one or the other. So I understand both perspectives. So I've been on both sides. Trust me, I understand. So I'm kind of torn, but I'm trying to be transparent because like I said, I'm really like bothered by this because I'm really like torn on what direction should I go because I listened to everybody's perspective about this thing with Big U. And a lot of people are to the point they're saying the hell with this dude. And then you have this whole thing about checking in and stuff and some of the things he's accused of doing. But it appears the only people that Big U appear to have hurt or done things to was people that look like him, melanated people. Because the only people you hear about him extorting were businesses that were owned by pretty much black people. The stuff you heard about him making people check in happened to be black artists. You never hear anything about Metallica or any of these or the Rolling Stones having to check in, but you always hear about these, rappers having to check in, alleged, taking people's belongings and holding them for ransom. And one dude was talking about that. He was saying, why are we sitting up here being concerned for a dude who allegedly hurt nothing but people that look like him. And one dude basically just said, hey, man, fuck that dude. Because the people allegedly that he harmed look like him. And he said he was very bothered by the fact that when he was turning himself in, he was talking about this is what he gets for trying to help out the black man or help out the black community. But then you hearing about all these things that he's tied to. So I just think it's unfortunate. And I'm just, like I said, it hurts me that he's in this situation, but then it makes me think on the flip side about the people he allegedly hurt. That's the thing. So the question is, was he a gangster pretending to be an activist, or was he an activist pretending to be a gangster? And that's the big question. So, like I said before, I know I'm gonna get a text message and people gonna probably be upset, but I gotta call it right down the middle. Like I said, I'm deeply disturbed by this and bothered by this. It's the same thing that I say when I do media. Now, it's not to the point to where what Big U is accused of doing. And like I said before, I'm gonna let the chips fall where they may. I'm gonna just play this by ear. But I do have to, look at it from other people's perspective. And it's kind of like the same thing I found myself. Now, this is before social media. It kind of reminds me of the whole Tookie Williams thing, where, Tookie Williams behind bars, he was sitting up, writing books, telling people why you shouldn't be involved in gangs and all this kind of stuff. But then at the end of the day, people said, hey, this dude wasn't cool. He was a monster. And basically he started something that led to the demise, hundreds of thousands of black men and black women. Not just in LA, just, all over the country and possibly all over the world, because the Crips are global. They have Crip gangs in Africa. They have Crip gangs in the UK. They have Crip gangs in, Canada. So you can make an argument, some people accused him of causing genocide. Now, when it pertains to the whole checking in thing, now that checking in is officially a crime, because checking in is considered officially a crime. But here's the thing about Big U. We keep talking about free Big U, but I've seen dozens of videos where Big U is talking about, hey, if you shoot a video in the area that I'm in, well, if you don't check in, we gonna check your camera equipment in. Now he's incriminating himself. Now they're gonna use all this shit against him. So are you gonna get mad at me for talking about this when all this stuff is on YouTube? It's on social media. So to a certain degree, he was incriminating himself about a lot of different things. And I said this before, you can't be a gangster and a celebrity at the same time. That's what led to the demise, one of the demise of Benny Siegel, Bugsy Siegel. That's what led to his demise, among other things. I mean, I've seen several videos of him talking about that checking in stuff. So are you going to get mad at me for talking about the videos that I seen where he's talking about it and breaking it down how it works? Or are you going to hold him accountable? I'm just speaking on what I saw. I could make an archive I've seen at least 5 videos where he is talking about that checking in stuff. Now, I'm going to say this. I've never checked in with nobody. I've been to LA several times. I ain't never checked in with nobody, never planned to do it, and never would do it. And I'm not asking anybody to run up on me. I'm not talking about, yes, I wish it, I ain't on that. I wish it, I'm just keeping it 100. I'm gonna keep it a buck. If I drove to LA, I was more than prepared. And that's all I'm gonna say. I was more than prepared. And that's all I'm gonna say. But you think about this whole scenario with him. Like I said, you seeing people that's affiliated with him talking about this stuff, that they were going strong arming people. And I asked this question again. I ain't seen no non-black artists or celebrities or whatever type of form of entertainment they in talking about they have to check in. So like I said before, are we going to speak on that, or are we going to sit up here and be mad at everybody else? Yeah, Whack 100 is the informant, but at the same time, to a certain degree, Big U was volunteering information and basically ammo to provide the feds to build a case against him. Tell me that I'm lying. So, like I said, when I see this situation that's going on, like I said, my heart is really broken because I'm thinking about his family. I'm thinking about, and I can't help to think. And to a certain degree, I'm hoping that none of this stuff is true. But at the same time, when do we hold these dudes accountable that only hurt black people? Listen, I'm not finna pass myself off as a saint. There are things that I regret tremendously, that I'm deeply saddened about and sorry about, and shame and shameful about, because I made mistakes and I can own up to that. But after a while, you just have to look at things from a different perspective. When did we start like holding our community and holding these dudes accountable? When did we ask these dudes like, hey, why are you guys doing this to people that look like you, but you call yourself a proud black man? But then at the same time, you try to get over on black people. And I've talked about this several times. This is, why, like I said, a lot of black businesses don't survive. They don't survive because of black people. Now, due to the part that Trump is making it legal to basically enact on segregation, my thing is, to the white people that's okay with segregation, you'll be out of business in a year. So you ain't gonna be able to get away with that whites only and colored bathroom and all that stuff, because we're at a point now where we can function on our own. Be careful what you ask for. But then again, if we start to, progress, supersede them, I guarantee you they'll try something. Because at the end of the day, when you have an overseer mentality, it's hard to let it go. And that's their problem. No, he didn't. No, he didn't do nothing to those Samoans. No. No, from what I was told, he lightweight sued. And that's the thing. You hearing about a lot of different situations, scenarios. You hearing about he was allegedly tied to what happened to the dude Fats. I told you that they gonna try to tie all this stuff to him. They're gonna try to tie what happened Nipsey to him. And that's the thing. Once again, this is what the internet was created for. This is the vision that Al Gore and other people saw when they created the internet, that it was going to become part of everyday life and where it was going to be used as a way to get people to basically tell their personal business, bring notoriety and a little money to themselves, but at the same time, incriminate themselves. This was the overall goal. Keep in mind, when something is created, it's not about what it'll be the first year or two. It's what it'll lead to in the next 20 to 30 years. This AI stuff that's going on now, this was thought about like 30, 40 years ago. You saw on movies. You saw as far back as Total Recall. And that movie got made 30 years ago. Self-driving cars, Johnny Cab and all that kind of stuff. Then you saw it again in The Demolition Man with, microchips being put in your hand. Well, guess what? They trying to do all that stuff. So all this stuff was projected. And this is what the internet was created for. Now, at the same time, it's some perks to the internet because, like I said, you discovered a lot of things about Black people that you didn't know, a lot of hidden history that was purposely kept away from you and you was denied in school. You had other people that was educating you. I learned more things in 10 years about my history, my lineage, since I got on YouTube than I ever learned in anybody's school. So that is the perks. But then again, you have this stuff. So at the same time, I'm just going to play this Big U thing by ear, but you have to be completely honest. Big U did a lot of this stuff to himself because Big U wanted to be a celebrity. Even though he was talking about this stuff about, I don't be on the internet and all that kind of stuff. Well, I can pull up Big U's name. I can go to the YouTube search engine and there are quite a few videos of Big U doing interviews, going on different type of platforms, going on Drink Champs, just doing interviews saying that he not an internet dude. Well, if you're not an internet dude, why do we know what you look like? Why do we know who you are? So I'm just keeping it a buck. And if anybody try to text me saying that I'm out of pocket, then whatever, so be it. But I stand on what I'm saying. This is my honest to God truth. And I have to speak the truth from the other side of the hourglass. Okay. Robin Hood stole from the rich and gave to the poor, as the story is told. But what do you do when you take from people that isn't even what you would call rich and basically pocket it and bully people out of it? What if you're scamming people? And see, that's the thing. And then, not to mention, you've been accused of being a rat. So we haven't talked about that yet. So he's accused of working with the police. And I can tell you right now, you can't try to double cross the police. Now, if he was trying to do that Whitey Bulger stuff, he got to remember, you ain't Whitey Bulger. And eventually they end up getting him too. But like I said before, we don't want to have these real conversations. And I'm not trying to tear down Big U. But like I said before, that's the difference between, and I'm going to say this again, that's the difference between LA culture aka Southern California culture versus Northern California culture. Like in the Bay Area, we don't really do that red or blue thing. And this is not a diss on the Crips or the Bloods or none of that stuff. It's just our culture is just different. That's just not our element. And then this whole thing about checking in. Look, I know people, and I'm just gonna keep it a buck. I have to explain when I go to other places the difference between a Northern California dude versus a Southern California dude. But the whole thing about people checking in, when people would call me and from other places, that I say, "Hey, I'm coming to your area. What's up with this? What's up with that?" And talking about checking in and all that kind of stuff. I was like, dude, there ain't no checking in here. What it look like me like charging somebody like 25, 30, 40, 50, $60,000 for protection, or I'm basically making them pay me money basically not to rob them. You're not paying for protection. You basically, when you say checking in and extort, you're basically paying me money not to rob you. You're not paying for protection. You're basically paying me money to leave you alone. So that's why dude got so many indictments. But that checking in culture, that was never part of the Bay Area. Somebody told me they was coming to town, they'd be like, "Hey, so and so, I'm coming here. Where do you go?" "Yeah, okay, yeah, go here, go there." And if somebody say, "Well, what's up with this area?" I'll be like, "Don't go over there, because it's not cool over there. Just kind of be cool." I would always tell people, you know, how to get around. Because, I'm well traveled around the whole Bay Area. I'm cool. I didn't travel from Oakland to Sacramento to San Jose. I know this whole area. You know, I'm well balanced as far as the whole Bay Area, North Bay, from Oakland to Stockton. So I know the whole area. I've been everywhere. So, I'm very, you know what I'm saying, Bay Area fluent, street fluent, because I didn't live in Stockton. I didn't live in Richmond. I didn't lived in those type of places. So I know where everything is. I know where not to go. I know where you can go. I know where it's semi cool. I know where it ain't cool. But none of this stuff about checking in and all that kind of stuff. And then let's just keep it a buck on the whole check it in stuff. That checking in stuff could have really caused a lot of problems. Now, based off the fact that that was tied to primarily LA and Southern California. And I was talking to a homeboy. I was talking because this has been a hot topic. And I was talking to people from different places in the country. And they was really like talking about, as far as this checking in stuff go, well, what if me being you know, a Southwest dude, what if we started doing that to LA people? What if New York dudes started making LA dudes check in, or dudes from the West Coast? So that could have got bad. What if Florida dudes was making California dudes check in like they was doing when they was coming here? So that's why you got to look at this from a totally, you have to really like, open up your lenses and see this for what it is basically a clusterfuck. So this, like I said, it's very difficult, and it's hard for me to talk about this, but I have to tell the truth, because when we was talking about this whole checking in thing, that's what I think irritated people. And the people that I was talking to this about, they were black. They were brothers. They were saying, "Hey man, I ain't never participated in that stuff." And they was like, "Why are we sitting up feeling sorry for a dude that allegedly harmed and robbed, bullied, extorted people that look like him?" Because I've yet to see any Hispanics or whites or any form of non-blacks say that they were extorted by allegedly Big U in the 60s. The only people that you hear about him having incidents with was, you know, black celebrities, whether they were in film, whether they was in, you know, sports, just like you hearing about this thing about Adrian Broner and the trick dice thing. Now, what I think was going to happen down the line, I wouldn't be surprised if Adrian Broner is subpoenaed. Let me tell you something. They're gonna try to move real fast with this. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a federal case. So I wouldn't be surprised if they subpoena Meek Mills. I wouldn't be surprised if they subpoena Adrian Broner, because I'm gonna tell you right now, if Adrian Broner, and this isn't dry snitching, this isn't snitching. These articles are already out about Adrian Broner allegedly scamming millions of dollars with trick dice. And I'm gonna tell you right now, Adrian Broner lucky that somebody didn't bust his melon. So what could possibly happen? Because you know people love to use that word snitching, and you can't be snitching when this is already. I'm just telling you right now what could happen. It appears that they're gonna try to lower the boom on Big U. I'm just keeping it 100. So what could possibly happen is they may already be talking to Adrian Broner. They may say, okay, well, if you don't tell me what you know about allegedly having to talk to Big U about allegedly Big U trying to cut in on the money that you supposed to schemed out of, listen, that's fraud. If you scam millions of dollars out of NBA players using trick dice, that's Adrian Broner is in deep trouble. That's all I got to say. If they go to these basketball players, because see, let me put 2 and 2 together. And this isn't no dry snitching, so you can say that shit, because this is already out. So let me tell you what they could possibly do with Adrian Broner. They're going to look into every basketball player that he allegedly shot dice with. They're going to look into the whole trick dice thing. So what's going to happen is if they start talking to these NBA players, now keep in mind these NBA players, for the most part, they're going to be considered that bullshit word civilians are, law-abiding citizens, whatever. So they're going to go to them and say, well, did you play dice with Adrian Broner? But they have to prove it. But allegedly, this is in the paperwork. Now, I haven't looked to the extent of looking up all the paperwork at all, but this is allegedly part of the indictment, and they're trying to tie all this to Big U. So what they could do, they're going to go to the basketball players first. I don't know the names of the people that Adrian, but I'm pretty sure eventually we're going to get the names. And then what they're going to do is they're going to say, did you play dice with Adrian Broner? Yeah. How much money did he get from you? They said that he scammed like millions. Anything in the millions, that's a federal case. And Adrian Broner, if that is true, Adrian Broner is in deep shit. So what's going to happen is they're going to go to Adrian Broner. They're going to give him a list of the names that he allegedly scammed out of millions. And they're going to say, well, what do you know about Big U? So then Adrian Broner is going to be at a crossroads to where, is he going to have to give them information? Is he going to have to talk? Now, this is just hearsay, but I'm telling you what could possibly happen. So then guess what? Adrian Broner is going to find himself in a dilemma. Okay, do I give an affidavit? Because I'm going to tell you right now, this is a Fed case. Big U is a Fed case. So if the Feds are looking into Adrian Broner, they're not going to come to him unless they got something. And they're going to first 48 his ass. They're going to put him in a box. They're going to say, either you tell us what you know, or you can go to jail with Big U. So I'm telling you what could possibly happen. Now, this could be nothing, but I've been hearing this. They're looking into this. Once again, this is a Fed case. I'm going to say this again. Out of every 100 cases, 98 of them lead to a conviction. The feds are not going to come fucking with you unless they got something rock solid and they know they can get a conviction. So what they're going to do is they're going to press people. They may say, okay, I'll offer you immunity. Just tell us this. Like I said, they want to tie all this to Big U. All of this. So I'm just telling you down the road what could possibly happen. So don't be surprised if you hear about them wanting to have a conversation with Adrian Broner, because if he allegedly like beat NBA players out of millions of dollars using fake dice, he in deep shit. Because you know how I know? They just convicted Sean Kingston's ass and his mama for basically frauding people out of like at least $1 million in fake luxury goods. I have no idea what it is. I didn't look up the full documentations of the case. So I just gave a quick run through of what was going on with him. But in Adrian Broner's case, yeah. Adrian Broner may be in deep shit. So Adrian Broner is going to have to possibly make a judgment call. And then due to the fact that Adrian Broner is not in good graces with Al Heyman, and then due to the fact that Adrian Broner isn't in a good financial situation, well, put 2 and 2 together. So they may force his hand. But anyway, you guys, in closing, I just wanted to talk about this. I'm going to say this again. I just wanted to give you the good and bad. I wanted to present this from both perspectives. So I'm going to play this Big U thing by ear, but I wanted to tell you from a different perspective of how people are seeing Big U. They don't see this dude as a victim and that basically the white man is just coming after him because he is a successful black man. A lot of people see him as just basically black trash. So that's it. Don't get mad at me. I'm just a messenger. That's it. But anyway, you guys, it's your boy Town. I'm out.